Hello, welcome, Marlon here. Today we're working with this ice cream cone cookie cutter. We'll be making 4 different designs, starting with this one, the feather cookie. Now on to the step-by-step tutorial. Now because I shaped the cookie with my hand, I drew the template after, so I kind of had an idea of the shape. And here is the feather template that I created that I'm going to be able to rest on the cookie here. And then this is my masking section so that I have a darker area. So this is the 2 sections for my feather. So step 1 here, I'm just going to position this onto the cookie. Starting off in teal here, and I'm just going to spray the whole thing so light. There. And now I'm going to lay the other stencil on top so I can mask there. And now I'm going to hit those sections a bit darker. And there is the 2-tone feather. Now I'm working in a pink, and we'll see how this looks. A light misting. And now we can lay our second stencil on. Now I'm just going to hit these areas darker. There. Isn't that pretty? And here it is with a bit of charcoal icing, and I'm just going to show you what I did. Here, I'll decorate a teal one just to show you. And I'm using here these little bubbles that we have in the design to kind of, you know, I'm filling those up, trying to accentuate the cookie design. So let's start here with the middle section of our feather. Let's take it all the way up, and let's create the center here. Fill this in. There. All right, let's shake that out. We're ready to go. Now, over here, I'm going to connect over here, take it all the way up, and create that curve here, filling this in. Now this one here, filling here, and we can just fill in our sections. And you can really play with it, do what you want to do here with regards to creating the little swirls. The top of the feather. And now in here, I'm just adding some dots. Again, just to jazz it up. There, and now let's rotate this. Over here, this one. like so. There, this one, and here we can kind of go that way. Our little dots over here on this side. And that's it. There's our feathers. Probably my favorite of the four, I have to say. For design number 2, I decided to do a party hat and a little happy birthday message. So I'm just adding a white background to my cookie here. I'm just adding some runny icing. I'm actually going to let it drip off. There. Let's see what gravity does to it. Like I said, I just want to have a nice white background. All right, now that I've got my cookies coated, I've got here some little rainbow confetti that I'm just sprinkling at the lower, in the lower part here. So just right here. Make sure they're laying flat because we're writing here and we want our letters to rest well. So make sure you check to make sure that all the confetti is on its side. And if not, take a needle and knock it over so that you can write properly on this area later. I'm a little disappointed with my sprinkles. I put them on yesterday, and I don't know if the camera can see it, but they're actually bleeding in my icing, and the icing dried very quickly. That's kind of disappointing because my black icing isn't even bleeding. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer when the sprinkles bleed. And now to here, and I'm just drawing my hat just like that, pretty straightforward. And now the message here. So I got it to fit pretty good with the bubbles of the shape. So there's the H. And then I'm doing the Y first. And then I'll center the appy in the middle of all that. There, so happy. And then the birthday, again, starting with the first and then doing the last letter. The Y over here, following the curve, a little swirl. And now we have to fit in the whole word here, so keep it tight. There we go. And there we have our message. And now I'm going to come in and fill in that hat. Now let's complete our cookie here. We're going to fill in the hat area, starting off with the black base. And you can just quickly flood this whole area. And then we'll add our rainbow. You don't have to mix up all these colors. I just so happen to have them because of my rainbow cookie. You could certainly just keep it to 2 colors. It doesn't have to be a rainbow. It's a lot of mixing for just one design. However, if you were making these with balloons, you could have assorted balloon colors with it, which would be cute. A nice platter. You could do some balloons and some streamers. I've seen some really cute streamer cookies. This tip is too small to flood a cookie, but I'm just too lazy to switch. So since I'm not doing a lot of them, we'll just suffer through it. There. And a shake. grabbing my yellow icing to start this stripe business. And now the edge of the bottom of the cookie here. There. And that's it. The cookie is done. Be cute on top, like I say, of a platter of assorted balloons, some streamers. For the third design, a little hermit crab. Step 1, getting the template on the cookie. Not everybody has a copy cake. So you can just trace out the paper, not too complicated. It's a pretty straightforward design. I'm just quickly running through the shell here. I actually didn't end up doing, on the drawing there's 5 sections on the shell, and then I ended up just doing 4. So there, and then here just a point. Now I'm using the claws as my guide, kind of, to draw this. So I'm drawing my claws first, like that, and then just some bubbles going up, and then eyes that are peeking out from underneath the shell, and then his smile, and that's it. Now we can outline this. I'm working in almost black icing, not quite, and starting off here at the shell, I'm going to outline all this, covering up my yellow lines. We don't want them to be visible. This is kind of a bit of the undershell that's curled up like that. Now the shell's sections. And that's it. Starting off with the claws, and I'm alternating the sections so that when I fill, they don't overspill onto the other. Spill over onto the other. And now I can just fill all this in. There. Just level out the icing here, like so, and now I can fill in these 2 little, so I skip and do the next, skip and do the next, and again, just make sure the icing's connecting. Now we can go to the other side, the other claw. We're going to let this dry a little bit before moving on with the other sections. Now we can work on the actual shell, since we're far from any of the red icing. And here I'm just doing this edge in yellow. There. Make sure you have no red on your needle, and then we're just going to make sure this heals. There. And now I'm grabbing my green. I'm making the shell green. I'm going to fill in these 2 top areas. There and there. I had thought I'm going to do yellow polka dots. So let's just heal this up a little, and then I'm going to come in and drop some random dots in here. And you don't want to overfill so that your icing doesn't spill over. So there. Let's give that a shake. We can move on now. I'm grabbing my green and filling in the last of our shell areas. There, and quickly fill this in. And over here, whoops, I got some on my black line. I hate that. Let's see if I can just get it off over here. There. All right, let's smooth out our green a bit, add our yellow dots to and that's it. Now we grab the cookie, shake it out. Now the red, finalize our little legs, and then once this is dried, we'll be able to come in and do the last face area, and the cookie will be complete. Let's give that a couple of minutes. So I wasn't very good. I did the mouth without filming. So you just fill in the little mouth area in white. And now I'm just taking the same icing, the black, and drawing the little eyes here. And while it's wet, I'm coming in with the red and adding the rest of the face area here. So we'll outline the whole thing. There, a little shake. And there is our little crab. And you can shape the eyes if they skew a bit. Here I have my Wilton mustaches from a while back. Perfect for this cookie. I like this one on him. This cookie already dried. Oh no. There. There. And now the fourth and final design, this adorable rainbow. As you can see, the shape is slightly skewed. I bent the cookie dough while it was at room temperature to get that curved shape at the cone area. Starting off with the clouds, and I'm just outlining them in white icing, following the curves of the cutter. Now I'm grabbing some light delphinium blue icing, which kind of like is gray, and I'm just coming in and touching the sides of my white initial icing and creating some shadows here on my clouds so that they're not so, you know, just white and boring. So there's a bit of interest to them. Just like that. And now immediately, because we want the two colors to kind of meld together, now I'm coming in with some white here and filling in my two clouds. Now we can pick it up here and just give it a good shake. We don't want wrinkly clouds. And just make sure everything is connecting. And that's it. The cloud is done. You can see the color. Now we're ready to add the rainbow. I'm doing all the colors at once. I'm not adding green. I'm leaving the green for the bottom where the pot of gold is going to be, and so I didn't want to have green twice. I'm going to start with the yellow over here, and we're breaking this up into 5 sections and working in wet on wet. So we're not waiting in between the colors to dry. I want them to kind of look all like together. Grabbing orange, red over here. The other thing is, if you do all 6 colors, it's going to be a very tight fit. 5 gives them a little bit more room. Purple. And the last are blue here. Then we're going to shake it so that all the colors kind of level out together so that they all look like they're all connected. Going to let this dry, and then we'll be able to add our pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Now I'm working on the actual pot of gold. Now if I was to do the pot first, I could, but I'd have to wait for it to dry before I could add my little gold coins, and I don't want to wait. So I'm going to do the gold coins first actually, and I've got my little guidelines kind of written on the cookie. And now I'm coming in with some yellow icing just so that when I add my little gold sprinkles, if any icing shows through, it won't look bad, won't look weird. So I'm just adding this yellow icing. I'm going to move this to my bead tray. And now I'm adding these little sprinkles that I got at Michael's. They're little gold confetti. Unfortunately, I don't know if you'll be able to find them. I went to the store one day, they were there, and then when I went back, they didn't have them anymore, and the whole display was gone for them. So I have no idea what's going on with regards to these sprinkles. But if you can find them, they're the perfect thing for this project. And I'm just kind of moving them so that I can get my pot. So there's my little cluster of gold at the top. Now I'm working in some black, actually charcoal gray. It's not quite black. And all I'm doing is here, I'm starting here and creating a little border on the pot like that. And then fill that immediately. We're going to wait for this to dry a bit so that then we can do the pot after, and we'll have a bit of a separation between the little lip around the edge of the pot there. So I'm just filling this in, and we'll give that a shake. Just about done that pot. Now that the top has had time to dry, I can come in and add the bottom area. And just flood all this up. We're going to have to wait another minute for it to dry a little bit before we can come in and add the little clover detail. We don't want that sinking into this icing. So you don't have to wait a long time just for it to get a dry layer on top. There, and we're shaking to flatten it out. That's it, and once this is dry, like I say, we can come in and add our little clover. Now the final touch, we need some green on our St. Patrick's Day cookie. And so I'm adding a 4-leaf clover, so it's 4 hearts kind of connecting at the middle. Hearts are just little tear shapes that you connect. And then the stem, I'm not touching the actual 4-leaf clover. I found it kind of warped the shape, and now just doing some grass on the edge of the pot here. And that's about it. And there is the completed cookie, and as you can see on the other one there, you can personalize them. If you want, you can add the children's names to them. Here are all 4 designs once again. As you can see, the feather and the rainbow, the shapes aren't exactly as cut. I just bent the cone area when the dough was at room temperature, and that's all it took to get that more organic shape. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's cookie projects. Let me know which one was your favorite. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. See you next time.